This is question number 38 from book number 1 based on the 2020 NEC, and this is electricaltime.com. What is the minimum size pull box where a 2-inch raceway is on the top of the box, the bottom of the box, the left side of the box, and the right side of the box? The conductors are 4AWG, and you are not being told which routes the conductors will travel inside this pull box. So we got a couple of different choices here. We got 12 inches tall by 12 inches wide, 14 inches tall by 14 inches wide, 16 inches tall by 16 inches wide, or we got 18 inches tall by 18 inches wide. Just want to take 30 seconds to let you know what we do here at electricaltime.com. We do online electrical classes from the comfort of your home. And then we also have this free service. So if you click on the subscribe for free NEC questions, Monday through Friday, you'll get an NEC code question and an answer sent to your email. All right, so back to our video. And the answer to this question is C. That's going to be 16 inches tall by 16 inches wide. All right, so when you see a question for a pull box, right away you're going to go to Article 314, and that's going to be for boxes. And that's in Chapter 3, Wiring Methods and Materials. Then we look at Part 2 for installation. Then we find 314.28, pole and junction boxes and conduit bodies. Then we find 314.28a, talks about minimum size. And I'm just going to read that real quick. So really important, when you're doing a pull box, you got to make sure that you have complied with the minimum size for those conductors. And it says here, for raceways containing conductors of 4AWG or larger that are required to be insulated. So if your conductors are going to be smaller than 4AWG, is it a pull box? No, you're going to go and do a box fill. But if the conductors are 4AWG or larger and are required to be insulated, then it's going to be a pull box. All right, so let's continue. So now we've got 314.28A1, and that talks about straight pulls. And then we got 314.28A2, that talks about angle or U-pulls or splices. But let's take a look at 314.28A1 for straight pulls together in our code book. And it says straight pulls. In straight pulls, the length of the box or conduit body shall not be less than 8 times the metric designator trade size of the largest raceway. So in this case, we got a 2-inch raceway on the top, on the bottom, on the left, and on the right. So if we have a straight pull from the top to the bottom, or a straight pull from, let's say, left to right, that's going to be 2 times 8. That's going to be 16 inches. All right, so we got 16 inches so far. So let's read 314.28A2 angle or U-pull or splices together in our code book. And that says angle or U-pulls or splices. Where splices or where angle or U-pulls are made, the distance between each raceway entering inside the box or conduit body and the opposite wall of the box or conduit body shall not be less than 6 times the metric designator trade size of the largest raceway in a row. This distance shall be increased for additional entries by the amount of the sum of the diameters of all other raceway entries in the same row on the same wall of the box. Each row shall be calculated individually, and the single row that provides the maximum distance shall be used. And again, you can read number 2, and there's an exception in there, and there's a lot of good information in this. So, put the video on pause, read the rest of that, but let's continue. So in our textbook, we've done the math here. So from the top side, as a straight pull, we've got 2 inches times 8, and that's going to be 16 inches tall. And the top side as an angle pull. Remember, we can either go straight or we can go an angle. right? Because if I got a raceway opening on the top, on the bottom, on the left, or the right, I could have, two angle pulls going in that box. So from the top side as an angle pull, I got 2 inches times 6, and that's 12 inches tall. All right, so I do this for the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. And what happens, 16 inches is the larger of those two measurements each and every time. And as we can see, each of the separate calculations gave us both 12 inches and 16 inches for each side of the box. We must take the larger of the two calculations, which will require us to make this pull box at least 16 by 16 inches, and that's the answer. It's also possible that the conductors could be going straight and at an angle from each raceway opening. If that were the case, this calculation would not change. If you see this type of question on an exam without the given routes of the conductors, don't panic and throw up all over your desk. Just start at each raceway opening and consider all the possible routes that the conductors can possibly take and write down the largest number of inches calculated from each raceway opening. Let's think about this in a real world situation. You install the pull box and the conduit as a complete system, and now the electrical inspector gets there and starts checking out your work before you pull the conductors. Since you did not leave any notes for the poor electrical inspector to look at, he or she will most likely assume that you are pulling 4 AWG conductors or larger in this pull box. The electrical inspector will automatically assume the worst case scenario for the routes of the conductors and either apply the rules for a straight pull, angle pull, U-pull, or a combination of all the above to each raceway opening. My personal suggestion is to leave a note in the pull box letting the electrical inspector know what the routes of the conductors will be and to show your calculations. All right, so the answer to this is C, and that's going to be 16 inches tall by 16 inches wide, and these are code references 314.28A1 and 314.28A2.